Being it's 5:15, I'd like to call it Economic Development Committee to order. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, any changes to the agenda?
No, but I'll touch on the next one when you get to the minutes.
Okay, I look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Shea, second by April. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we'll move to the approved January 31st, 2022 minutes.
And you might notice there's a clerical error there. That should be 2023. I noticed that today when I was preparing. Had Nicole look into it. It's a clerical error. The minutes are posted in the agenda correctly. So we're okay to approve this tonight as if it would say 2023.
I look to approve the January 31st, 2023 minutes. Look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by April, seconded by Bill. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Next line is Wapaka County Child Care Landscape Discussion.
Wonderful. Amanda, if you want to come up and just sit next to April there. So the purpose of this discussion topic is that April and I were invited to a meeting with Dave Morak, who sits on the county board, and then Amanda Joel Litz. Did I pronounce it right? Okay. good. Community engagement specialist with childcare resources and referrals. So the county is using some ARPA money and also has another grant that they're using to focus on childcare improvements within the county. So after our conversation, we did invite Amanda to come speak with the committee to kind of give some information about what the county's initiative and the focus is on the project, and allow the committee to ask questions about where things are going, and then talk about the ask of what they're asking about for the city to be involved with. So without
you.
further ado.
I really appreciate all of you for allowing me to speak in front of you. I have some notes because when it comes to childcare, I could probably talk ad nauseum when it's something I'm very passionate about. So I just wanted to say that I do have notes here, and please excuse me for referencing them, but I want to make sure that your time is utilized in a very proficient way. So the information that I had given to each one of you, I would like to draw your attention to the Wapaka County childcare landscape. So that really is a nutshell of the entirety of Wapaka County. I know that here in New London, we have two group centers, that's Daycare Center of New London and Robin's Nest. And then you have two family childcare programs. And that would be Cat in the Hat and Nessa's Nest. All four of those are regulated programs through the state of Wisconsin, and they have absolutely zero capacity for growth, because as of right now, Daycare Center of New London, and just from last week, Janet was telling me that their wait list right now is 42 for infants and toddlers and 43 for preschoolers. So that puts their wait list at about 2 years. And this really affects the business community, because when people are looking to relocate and come into a community, one of the first things that they ask outside of housing is childcare. That is a need, and it's definitely a need to have people come into the workforce. After some discussions too with Chaplain Carey over at Tyson Foods, we talked a little bit too about the idea that there's absolutely no second shift, a third shift, or weekend care available in the entirety of Wapaka County. With both Tyson and Amcor being manufacturing facilities, they really need care that's going to speak to their employees, that has prolonged shifts available, second shift available, and as of right now, there is none. And it is affecting the workforce, where employees right now, they have to leave early, or they have to be conscientious of their shifts and when they can clock in and when they can clock out, because the childcare is only open for so long. I did ask Chad to pull up a report as well. I'm not going to go into this too much in depth, but Ready Nation is a national business association, or national business association, a way to address the childcare crisis. And so one of the things that I found to be really interesting in this report is that the cost of childcare to businesses is $57 billion annually, and that's obviously nationwide. But some of the things that this report highlights is a lot of it is due to lost productivity of the employees. So whether or not the childcare is available, accessible, and affordable to the employees, that's only part of the issue. Another part of the issue is how many times parents are called off of work because their child is sick, because there's no sick childcare available in Wapaka County, or how many times an employee has to leave early because their childcare is closing. So this report highlights a lot of the different aspects, or the different ways that businesses can view the childcare's effects on their business. So when we're looking at why isn't there enough childcare in Wapaka County, a lot of it is tied to the wages that childcare teachers are being given. And we do have some of those wages, or the average wages on the bottom of this sheet. It talks about the workforce. The average wage here, it says $13.15. Now, when you compare that to the K through 12 system, where teachers are earning upwards of $20 an hour, there's a huge discrepancy. And the early childcare educators need to be just as qualified as the K through 12 system. There is no requirement for a bachelor's degree. However, many teachers in the field have their degree. And then we also have to think about, and Rob and Ernst had told me this just yesterday when I told her I was coming to talk to you about this, is that in the school district, they have nurses, they have principals, they have cooks, and all these things are really being able to, or in the childcare system, and especially in family childcare, there is literally one person who does everything. And in the childcare group centers, you might have a cook and you might have a director who does a lot of the business and professional practices. But again, the ask on these teachers that we see is a lot more than what they have to do in the K through 12 system. So it's just something to think about. So when we are looking to how the state is approaching, Chad had talked a little bit about the county using some of their ARPA funds to address the childcare crisis. The state is also using funding from some of their the Build Back Better and the CCDBG grant. I think I said that right. The childcare block grant. And that, I'll draw your attention to this. It's a two-prong approach. So the heading is Project Growth, and the two prongs are Partner Up and Dream Up. Partner Up is a way that allows businesses to partner with childcare programs so they can pay the true cost of care. The business would pay 25% of what the true cost of care is, and then the state would pick up the rest. It's a great program, and the true cost of care is what I had listed in red on this sheet. And you can compare it to what our centers here in New London are charging. And you can see that the centers are being grossly underpaid if you compare the two rates. So it's a great program. However, it's only a 12-month contract. So I feel like that is one of the cons for it is that how can a business partner with the childcare, say, well, I'll pay your my employees' childcare bill for 12 months and then you're on your own. I mean, it's good and bad all at the same time. Dream Up, though, that's what Dave Morak is partnering with the Dream Up program. So those are $75,000 planning grants that were awarded to different communities throughout the state of Wisconsin. It was very interesting that both the city and the county of Wapaka both received this grant simultaneously. So we're working in conjunction a little bit with the city of Wapaka, but the county incorporates the city of New London. And Tracy Ratsberg is also on our county team from Theta Care. So two of the people that are really have a lot to do with what's going on in New London. And the goal of that is to be think of a way or a solution to be able to address the affordability and the accessibility of childcare. Right now, we're supposed to have finished our last in-person meeting with this organization, First Children's Finance out of Minnesota. However, got canceled because of the weather. It was supposed to be on the 22nd of February. We do have a rescheduled date for the 15th of March. So the goals that we are going to be able to identify through that process, I would love the opportunity to come back and to be able to explain what those goals were and how they're going to impact New London. So I guess really the ask is, and what I see the ask is supporting our efforts to bring awareness to the need for public investment. Honestly, Governor Evers has proposed a $340 million investment in childcare in his state budget. And obviously it is an issue that needs to be addressed. I don't know. Wisconsin as a state has notoriously underspent when it comes to childcare as compared to other states that utilize their state funds as well. However, we're hoping that with this budget that he's creating, that it will get passed, or at least that portion will get passed. But I think that it's really important for the business leaders in our community to be able to support the need for public investment. And so that's like my first ask is just help us help the cause. And on May 8th, we are actually inviting our state legislator to an event in Wapaka. May 8th is the National Day Without Childcare. So it's really about thinking how important childcare is to the structure of the workforce. What could happen if you don't have childcare? What could happen to the businesses if their employees didn't have childcare? And really putting it into perspective. It had been created last year, and the idea was for childcare programs to close, kind of like a strike scenario. However, childcare programs, they don't want to close because that negatively affects the parents, and it negatively affects the businesses. And that's definitely not what they wanted to do. So many of the businesses or the childcare programs did like a sticker where, oh, I can work today because of my childcare, or whichever the childcare their children were going to. So instead of doing that, what we want to do is we want to say, okay, let's have the businesses come and talk to our state legislators about how does childcare affect your business, and how does it affect the productivity, and why is childcare such an important aspect of our community. And then our second ask is to write a letter. When we looked at the transportation initiative in Wapaka County, this was something that a lot of the local businesses supported, and they did so through a letter writing campaign. The letters were then submitted to for the Wisconsin Innovation Grant. I believe this is a little bit before I started in this role. So it's, I guess what I'm doing is kind of doing a little bit of backtracking on my understanding of it. But the letter writing has a huge impact because it's that hard copy. It's that being able to submit this to their legislators down in Madison to say, yes, our businesses do see this as a community need. I'm going down on April 5th to Madison. It's our Child Care Advocacy Day, and I'm going to be talking to our legislators, and I'm going to be hopefully bringing in some letters to say Wapaka County wants to address childcare, and we want to do it in a way that will sustain the system to benefit not just the parents and not just the families, but the community as a whole. And then the last ask is really just about letting me come back and kind of follow up with the Dream Up process. That would be that $75,000 planning grant where we haven't written or identified our goals yet, but I certainly would like to let you know what they are and then maybe see if that is something you can be a part of. So I'm sorry, I was really nervous. I'm normally, I work a lot with childcare programs personally. So this coming into this role is very new to me. I've only been here since January. So one-on-one, one-on-two, I do really well, but a big group, so. But that's it. And I feel like Wapaka County is really on the precipice of doing something great. I mean, we as a county were acknowledged in the state address when it came to the transportation initiative. And I think that we could be doing the exact same thing when it comes to childcare. We're in a unique position because Wapaka County, we don't have a big city to draw a workforce from. We have small communities throughout, and we're not all that close to Appleton. We're not all that close to Stevens Point. So I really feel that that this is something that we can do, and it would be really, really great. Did we have any questions?
First off, good job.
Oh,
You did
thanks,
fine.
Chad.
And in our meeting, you talked about there were 3 kind of initiatives that staff are working on. You talked about, working with the like the directors and the teachers so if you want to talk about those 3 different type of things that you got working on right now with the staff.
Yes. So what Chad is referencing is the ARPA funds, and I do have information, and I'll pass it out before I leave. So basically, when the Wapaka County invested their money in with their ARPA funds, is we created some positions. Basically, we surveyed all the childcare providers in Wapaka County, and we said, okay, what do you need? And they said, we need higher wages for our teachers. We need to be able to increase the inflow of our workforce. We need to stop the outflow, the burnout rate. And then we also need to make it more affordable for families, and we need to create more spots. So what Childcare Resource and Referral did is we submitted some initiatives. So we have a recruitment coordinator who basically goes out and looks to increase the people coming into the field. So her big focus is family childcare providers. One family provider, a licensed family provider, can care for 8 children in their home. And it's a great idea for somebody who is looking to be their own boss and work from home. And it might be a really, really good fit. Then we address the burnout of the teachers, because a lot of times these teachers are dealing with very low pay themselves and very challenging behavior with the children that they take care of. And so we have 3 positions. We only have 2 people hired right now because, again, workforce shortages, that go in and work with the teachers, and they mentor new teachers, and they support seasoned teachers to be able to come up with strategies to address challenging behavior, to work collaboratively with families, to be able to support the front end of care. And then my role is basically to increase community awareness about what it means to be an early childhood educator. These are not babysitters, they're not daycare workers, they are in fact educators. And the amount of brain development between the ages of birth to 5 makes this the most important time of a child's development. And when we have quality care and we invest early, the payoff is amazing. We have a lower dropout rate. We have more productivity for adults in the workforce. We have a higher likelihood for a child to go to college. We have great conflict resolution skills. So we have less people in our jails. We have children who grow up to be emotionally regulated adults. All of these things, even though it's really hard to quantify them, the payoff and as these children grow up into be an adult, it's amazing. It's amazing what a little bit of investment on the front end will do.
Guess we'll open up to any questions. Does anybody have questions about the program or the initiatives? And
I'm presuming that there are currently 24 licensed childcare providers in Wapaka County. Do we have any insight as to the number of unlicensed childcare providers and what resources they might benefit from to become licensed, to increase their capacity? Like, there's people out there doing it.
Mhm.
They're just maybe not on our radar.
That's a really good question. So what we did was we created a survey. We're hoping to allow, get it out to the businesses. And one of the questions on that survey is, do you take your children to regulated or unregulated care? We know that there is unregulated care out there, and not saying that it's bad care by any means. Unregulated simply means that they have not submitted their information to either the county certifier or the state licensing agents. And so, yeah, we are trying really, really hard, but it's difficult because like through Facebook, we identify people that are saying, oh yeah, I can watch your child, or you'd be surprised at how many families go to Facebook and say, I need care for my child. So we're monitoring that, and we're monitoring a lot of the groups. We've created a lot of information to be able to support whether they want to remain unregulated or want to become regulated. The support is going to be there nonetheless. So we have our Sarah Fink, who's our recruitment coordinator. She also works at supporting family child cares. So, and then helping them and having anything that they any information that they might need or want to become regulated.
Any businesses in Wapaca County that have their own childcare at their factory, so to speak?
So when Daycare Center of New London started, they were a part of Hillshire. However, they have since separated. So there isn't that type of relationship anymore. I mean, obviously they still have a lot of children that their parents work at Tyson, but no, we have two child cares that are associated with school districts. So we have Clintonville and Wyowega Fremont. But all of the other child cares, they've been supported by businesses, but they're not like the business child care.
When the down by here, where they make sweatshirts and stuff,
Jansport.
Jansport, they had a really.
They
really
did.
nice one there.
They did, yes. And Thrivent used to have a child care as well. And I think the hard part, and I was talking to some of the businesses, the hard part about having a business be a child care as well is, or a child care be a on-site for a business, is the need. So if you are an employer, or business, and you have 10 kids or employees and they have 10 children, year one. Year two, you might only have the need for 2 spots. And then what do? Well, you have to open it up to the public then to make it sustainable. But then, well, the next year you might need 15. And so it's like, where does being an employee of that facility trump just, coming in from the public? Yeah. Good question. Thank you.
Is there forecasting? Because in many meetings or many articles, the trend seems to be for people having less children. Do we know like this is a snapshot in time now? Is this going to alleviate a problem that's growing, or is this going to diminish, or do we have any data?
I don't know. I'm sure that there's data out there, but I don't know. And that's an interesting take on it, because even with my son, they made the conscientious effort not to have children because it's very costly. And so you kind of wonder. I did hear an NPR report where they were talking about oftentimes when people do have children, it's when they're at their poorest. And so they were talking about having some kind of a loan program, kind of like how you have for college to pay for childcare, which is kind of scary and kind of sad. I mean, the cost of childcare is astronomical. But no, not to my knowledge, but that would be really good data to have, I think.
How do the school associated programs work? Like you mentioned Clintonville and I think Wyowega.
So the staff they're still paid a wage that's more comparable to the early childhood field than into the K through 12. However, they do get school benefits, which is a huge plus because in your regular childcare program, they can't afford to pay benefits. So like healthcare, dental care, most centers offer vacation and some offer some type of retirement. And the issue I think with, at least when Waiwega Fremont opened their childcare, is they, I don't wanna say poached, but a lot of teachers left some of the other centers and came into Waiwega Fremont. So Waiwega Fremont is wonderful and they're sitting pretty. However, the spots that they created were kind of left from other centers. So it wasn't really all that beneficial as far as like money and that, I guess I don't know.
When I went to college, the university had the College of Professional Studies. I remember they always had real little kids running around and it was like the teachers' college, but they did there was a large insurance company in that town. And I think the university utilized some of their learning educators and they operated something like that. I mean, we have a couple technical school hubs close by. We have one in Clintonville and Wapaka. Is there any possibility of?
That's interesting too, because Fox Valley Technical College in Appleton has a childcare. And of
Does
course,
Oshkosh,
as I
I
say, UWO and UCC in Fox Valley as well. Like the UW Fox Valley has one, UWO has one in Fox Valley Technical College. There's no there's no ability at the regional campuses because there's not the courses being offered there for like early childhood education. So that would be, I think one of the things that would be necessary in order to have it there. And there was talk too about, not talk, I mean, thought, maybe a fleeting thought about having a childcare at the high school in Wapaka. It'd be interesting too about the school district in New London about having a childcare there too. I know that they do have students that are in the childcare or considering childcare as a field of study. And the nice thing about that would be staff have to be now 17 in order to work in a childcare. That's coming out new with the licensing rule. And so they have to finish like their intro course to the childcare before they can be in the classroom. But I mean, that would be certainly a way to get people into the field.
Who is using the childcare centers at Waiwega and,
The public. I mean, staff as well. It's not, but it's not strictly for the school
but
district.
do staff get a preference?
That's a really good question. I can follow up with that and find out.
I mean, this definitely is a growing need. I mean, it ain't gonna go away anytime soon. It's just alarming that you talk a 2-year wait to get a child in. I mean, it's pretty tough.
I was talking to Janet over at Daycare Center of New London, and she has a parent that I believe they live in Oshkosh. They bring their child here to Daycare Center of New London, and then they work in Appleton. Yes, and then and people they're going so far out of their way to go, and you think about what that does to a child, that when they have to be an hour in the car, and it really impacts. It does. We do have a couple really good things hopefully happening. Trinity Lutheran is looking at partnering with the Family Childcare Cat in the Hat. Angie offers early care, so I think she starts at like 3:00 in the morning. She's open to doing second shift care, so that might be a really good partnership. And we're supporting that however we can. I have a meeting to go and talk to the church's task force, childcare task force. So I feel like we have people at the table that do, they look at this as definite need in the community. But it's kind of one of those problems. It's like, it's a problem. I can tell you what the problem is, but how to solve it is a lot more complicated.
I just want to say thank you for the efforts, excuse me, for the efforts going into this. When my children were little and I was a working mom, there were actual jobs that I couldn't take because I didn't have childcare. And, even then, we only had Daycare Center of New London open at that time. So my childcare was unregulated.
Right.
And even to find people to babysit for you, for a few hours, or how do you get the kids from school to home while you're still at work? And it was challenging,
Right.
as a working mom. And I worked at Hillshire, and doing any kind of shift work, stuff like that was tough to do.
Right.
So, when I was working second shift, and I'd have to have somebody take care of my children and feed them dinner and, get them to bed. If I ended up having to work later, I got done at 10:30 normally, but if I ended up having to work overtime, now it's 12:30 and I've got a babysitter or, somebody who wants to go home.
Right.
So the need, especially the shift work need in this area it's been there for a long time. That need has been there for a long time.
Seems like
So it's nice to get it addressed.
seems like the need would be different too, depending upon the time of day, like second and third shift. Just my perspective, but maybe the need for quote unquote childcare education is not quite so large as really just somebody to keep an eye on them in the evening, or particularly third shift where they're probably just hopefully sleeping. I mean, it's not, you might have a different need in terms of employees and their educational experience, their qualifications. They're not really educating when the child is sleeping.
That's a really good point. I had heard, and I thought this was the most interesting model I'd ever heard, was an employer bought a house, bought an actual residence, subsidized the rent. So the person who was living there was providing third shift care. And so basically, and I'm like, wow, that is kind of cool. It's great for the person who's living there because, especially with cost of rent these days, and so that was like a win-win for that. Of course, it's not going to work for every community. And what we found too for shift work is that even though the need is there, it's not oftentimes going to look the same as first shift because it might only be instead of, I think, Daycare Center of New London, and I don't have my numbers right in front of me, but I think that they are able to have something like 76, or maybe they're into the hundreds, however many children that they can have. They might only need 10 for, spots for 10 for second shift care. It's not a huge group, but the people who need it. Yeah.
The Daycare Center of New London is nonprofit, I believe, and other providers are not.
It depends. I think that, so Daycare Center of New London's nonprofit, Robin's Nest is for profit. Sunny Day in Wapaka is nonprofit, but My First Adventure is for profit. So it kind of runs the gamut. Mhm.
Do we have any insight as to the success of one over the other, business-wise, longevity-wise?
No, I think they're seem the same. I guess it really depends upon how the for-profit runs it. Like I've seen for-profits in the Valley where they have a real hard time staffing because if you're a childcare teacher and you're earning $10, $12 an hour and you see your director, the owner of your childcare going off on trips to Florida, you become a little bit irate. And so I see a lot of staff turnover. But if it's ran very well, like I know My First Adventure, the owner there, she sinks all of the money back into her center and her teachers are very well taken care of. And she's had longevity with her staff. So it really, I guess it depends upon how it's run.
Any other questions at this time?
Getting back to the asks, the first one was, having the businesses come to meet with the state legislator on May 8th.
May 8th.
How are you getting that out? And is there like Facebook posts or something or information? How are we getting that to New London businesses?
Right, so we're gonna be creating a flyer to denote the day. We will definitely be doing posts on social media as well. We are going to talk to the Wapaka County the Post, I believe, and talk about doing like a 3-part kind of a lead up to this date. And again, this is part of that Dream Up process. One of the goals that had been identified was to be able to have a panel discussion. And we're doing this in collaboration with the city. So the city and the county are both kind of working towards this because we kind of have the same state legislatures. So yes, that would be, we just had a planning meeting this morning about it and we are moving on it. The proposed place is either going to be at the school in Wapaka or the Park and Rec has also offered to open that up. But I think, and it's a little bit, I hope that the distance going from, asking businesses to come from New London to Wapaka is not a barrier in being a voice at the table, because I think that no matter what, businesses understand that some of their employees live in Wapaka and some of the residents here work in Wapaka. And I think that there's a lot, especially in Wapaka County, there's a lot of overlay just because everything is kind of spread out the way it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? Thank you.
I think we'll invite you back, like you mentioned, once you have more information in the future.
I would love to come back. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, we got discussion of the 2023 facade improvement program grant budget. Chad?
So first of all, on your desk, I put a flyer that I just whipped up today to try to start promoting that. If you want to hand that out to businesses in the downtown that you know of, or if you need more copies, this is just kind of the start of getting the word out to remind or educate people that we have this grant available. So we'll kind of get that out. Robert is actually working on a letter to all the North Water Street, Lincoln, St. John's and State Street businesses to kind of talk about the upcoming street reconstruction projects. He's going to include a copy of this in that letter. So just trying to get more information out. But if you need more, just let me know. I can hand out more to anyone who wants to hand them out. But with that said, the point of the discussion right now is I want to get a consensus or a motion from you guys. How much do you want to spend this year, designate this year on the facade improvement program? Now, we increased our matching grant from 2,000 to 3,000. If you remember, we have about 135,000 plus in the economic development fund for this year. So obviously we're going to be probably spending a little bit more because the grants are a little bit higher, and hopefully to our goal is to try to get more improvements going on by more businesses. So, but I just want to kind of get a number from you guys. In the past, we've done $20,000 a year. That's been our kind of our cap. What do you guys want to see as a cap this year for the initial process? I just threw it out there. Do we want to double that this year, say $40,000? And then that's going to be my stopping goal for this year out of this $135,000 budget. So I want to kind of get a number from you guys. What do you guys think? Up, down?
My question is, what's the remaining 135 being utilized? How is that being utilized?
For any of your economic development projects you want to work on. So for example, the billboard replacement, I'm going to suggest that you guys take this money out of there. There's been other initiatives like, if you remember, this was before I was a city administrator. You hired a couple of consultants to work on the downtown riverfront project. I can't remember who was that gentleman's name. He did some studies. That money came out of here because this is just the fund that you guys use for economic development type initiatives throughout the year. So something might come up, all of a sudden you guys, oh, we want to do this. This is the fund we kind of target that.
I think that 40,000 is a good start. I mean, if we're going from 2,000 to 3,000, we obviously got to increase something.
And we haven't hit the 20. We've been close to the 20, but we haven't hit the 20 for the last couple of years. So it's not like we've been only doing half the grants.
And we're doing whole downtown street as it is,
Mhm.
be nice to have it. That's, I think, it's a good idea to.
When was the 20,000 put in place?
Before my time in this role, that's been kind of the,
So is 40 enough? Because over time, I'm sure the costs have gone up exponentially.
Mhm.
And if we're looking at improvement, and what happens if we have leftover the 135? Is that rolled to next year?
so first of all, we haven't hit 20,000 in grant awards for the last couple of years.
Okay.
We've been short of that, so 20 has been plenty.
Okay.
Number two, the 135 is a rolling fund. So what happens is we have some money in the economic development operating budget for certain things that we do throughout the year. If there's leftover funds there, and then Judy, at the end of the year, if there's leftover funds in the city's operating budget, she recommends to the council to designate money in certain accounts. This is one that, if we have extra operating money from 2022, we designate money to go into there. And I can't remember what we designated. There was a bunch of funding that we pushed into here this year, if you guys remember that initiative. But so we try to put some money in there every year from leftover funds from last year. But it rolls over. This 135 does not go away.
So hypothetically, we vote and say 40,000 is the number. And then 6 months from now, we bump up on 40. Is there a process to revisit and say, yes, we would like to allow more to this amount?
Yep. I mean,
Okay,
I could go 2 months of grant considerations and awards, and all of a sudden we hit the 40. I can come back to you guys and say, hey, and I would come back to you guys and say, hey, we hit $40,000. Are we done? Or do you want to bump that up more?
Chad, is this the first time that you've marketed this program with an actual flyer?
That's the first time I've done a flyer.
'Cause I know we talk about it to businesses, but this is the first time that I've actually seen marketing, so I feel like it could take off.
It's definitely money worthwhile, like Bob said, if we're doing the downtown to.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we want all the time is
Mike,
Is 3,000 enough? I mean, if you want to do very much, 3,000 doesn't sound like a whole lot. Say you want to replace windows in one of the buildings downtown. I think you would very easily go over 3,000. Can they come back for a second time? Or is it strictly one time per year?
It would be one time for the year. And it's a matching grant. So it's $3,000 on our side, $3,000 of private money. So it'd be a $6,000 project. And that was it. The Economic Development Committee increased it from 2,000 to 3,000 last meeting. I don't know if I want to change it more because I've already got flyers out and I've already started advertising. I suppose you could bump it up more, but I've already started advertising for 3,000.
Now, just someone asked me about it, and is that enough?
That'd be a
I said,
$6,000 project then.
Yeah, I'm really not on this committee. This is the first time I've sat through it. I know what it costs to try to replace a few things.
Excuse me. When we were talking about it, we were talking about the option that if we went through this and everybody, it got to be October or whatever, and there was somebody sitting there that wanted a second grant, maybe they did the first one for window replacement, but they were also looking at doing something for the roof.
Mhm.
And that would be would we make that available as a second grant after?
We would have to talk about that.
Okay,
Because right now it would be one grant per year. But that 5-year waiting period,
we let that go.
we let that go for ones that are on the street reconstruction projects. So they could do one 2023 and then one 2024.
Okay.
That would be possible. I mean,
Maybe
unless you guys want to
maybe
change it.
that's what I was thinking. Okay. I was just trying to clarify that because I remember us saying that we were going to allow them to come back a second time.
Any more discussion? So are we looking for a motion?
I wouldn't mind a motion, and that can stay here because that could be a committee motion, but just to say, that we're earmarking $40,000 for the facade improvement grant right now for 2023.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Brendan, seconded by April. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstained.
It should probably be.
I
two
should
abs-
also
Yes,
abstain.
2 abstains
Okay, 2 abstains. Okay.
as a recommendation.
Yeah, I did last time too, when we approved it.
Okay. Motion passed. Next is discuss the theme for updating the Highway 45 billboard signage.
All right, so April and I met with the billboard rep that I've been working with. This is the company that bought out the company that did the last billboard, Color Tech Wisconsin. So we met with the rep, just kind of get some information. To lead into what we want to kind of do as a theme for the board. Some of the talking points we had with the company is I wanted the company to do a survey of the existing billboard to ensure there's no structural issues because nobody's really looked at it since 2018. I hate to just slap a new, sign up there and all of a sudden we find out that something's majorly bad. So they are working on doing a survey, just a cursory survey of the structure, just make sure it's structurally sound. Because it's very wet there, the ground will either need to be dry or frozen. So if we have a really dry stretch in the summer, they could do that. But more than likely, it's probably not going to be able to be done if it stays normal or wet until the ground freezes. And sounds like that's been what the process has been in the past. It's been something that they have to wait till the ground freezes to get in there. Once we order the sign, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks for production for the wraps. But they said they can store those in the warehouse and just be ready to go once the conditions are suitable for them to get in there without getting stuck and make a mess. So we got some time. It's either we got to wait till it dries up quite a bit or the ground freezes. But with that, one kind of a general discussion. I don't want to get hung up on what the actual picture is and the wordage and stuff like that. I just want to have a consensus of what's the message that we want to convey. What's that theme? And I threw some ideas on here just to kind of get the ball rolling. Do we want to, in this round of advertising, so we've got the economic development side and the other side is the tourism side. So the tourism commission will kind of work on the other side as a tourism focus. But what do we want to focus our side as economic development side for the city? Do we want to focus it, promote recreation? Do we want to do all the new homes that may be building in a town? Do we want to promote remote working, that we're a great remote working location, employment opportunities, new business creation, or anything else? So just want to kind of get an idea of what the committee want to kind of see as the theme. We'll develop more in-house of kind of what the picture and the verbiage would be, but what do we want to convey on the sign for the theme this time?
I think you're right. The tourism will focus more on the recreation side. I would like to see the other side be something like New London is open for business. Because there's going to be so much going on in the coming years with the new development and downtown reconstruction. Just to put that seed out there that we're open for business, and the next time somebody's driving on 45, they remember New London.
So maybe it touches on these two right here, employment and business creation, open for business type thing.
I think it could be a draw to, April just brought up, there's gonna be a lot of, and there has been a lot of changes in the town of New London. Have you seen New London lately? Have you seen it within the last period of time? Because there have been a fair amount of changes, a fair amount of businesses come to the town that April shares with us each month, and somehow, just not to drive by and actually pull off that off ramp.
I told Chad I would love to see, like, if we had a picture or drawing of what 2024 is going to look like downtown. We could do like half the billboard would be our current picture and then what it's going to be. Just to kind of give people an idea.
Well, I think the Tim's point a couple meetings ago, can we change this more often than every 5 years? So after this 2024 project, get some befores and afters, and then around that theme.
Mhm.
Hey, look what's changing, look what's going on.
I kind of like the idea of having it, the open for, or even using the have an address
Mhm.
theme. And then doing like photo bubbles, open for business, open for tourism, open for
Opportunities.
yeah, just do a multitude of those things. Have a theme statement with the bubbles of the pictures of what we're open for or have an address for.
I think she makes a good point. We kind of dove headfirst into this as an address thing. We
Mhm.
gotta definitely incorporate that somehow.
Yep, totally agree.
Anything else or give him enough direction?
Yeah, definite. April, you're kind of on the front lines of that discussion in the community, and I think you're definitely on the right path there. The one before this one that we've got was cut the red tape.
Mhm.
We spent all that money getting our industrial park shovel ready. And people know that, or anybody that's gonna put a factory in, they're gonna see that. So yeah, the natural next step would be, there's a lot of or new entrepreneurs that you're working with from the chamber side, and yeah, definitely those areas.
I think
be
to
promoted.
start, it would be nice, our attention spans are not like what they used to be. If we change that more often, make it a yearly thing. That way, next year, somebody comes up and, oh, hey, it's a new one, recreation has an address. And then once we get more of our downtown built and all this development that is gonna take place, then, hey, because right now, you can't move here. There's no homes for sale. You know what I mean? Like, but if we have, hey, great place to live, has an address, whatever. But I think maybe start with recreation, and then once we get more housing and employment and stuff like that, then we can move into those. And I'd like to see it changed more often. I mean, at least, once a year.
I can just put it on my calendar that, every winter we start talking like this again
Mhm.
and start setting ourselves up for this sign change. Because we need enough time to plan it for production and to be ready for when the ground freezes, to put the new sign up. So
Mhm.
we can start doing this.
Tim's point of changing it often brings up a good question that you might want to have with the new people, the new vendors that bought the old company.
Mhm.
If I remember right, it was about $8,000 for the wrap.
I think we paid, it was under 3.
Okay.
I know the city paid for the construction and then we paid for the wrap, so I don't remember what the total price was.
I had a quote for what it's gonna be this year and it wasn't, I think it
When-
was $7,000 for both sides or something.
Mhm.
But if they know that we're gonna change it every year on
Yeah.
a 5-year basis, they might provide
There
a
you go.
better price.
Mhm.
Then they could use maybe a different material, there's.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could use a
It's a
slightly lower quality material if
If it's only gonna
meant
be a
to last
year.
for 12 months.
There you go.
That's a good question.
So, to Tim's point there, we could save some money on just
Mhm.
changing it more often.
Yeah, maybe you could market it as a 5-year contract where we wanted to change it every year and, I mean, maybe
Lock in price.
lock in a price
I
or
like that.
more interest.
But even that $3,000 to $4,000 to change it on a yearly basis, one side is not
Mhm.
for a full billboard. That's
Pretty decent.
It is a good price.
a good price.
If we're having so much trouble because it's got to be dry or froze, can we change it every year, or we're going to have to go, say, 2 years? Because it almost looks to me like it's almost impossible to change it very often. I mean, I would, 2 years rather than 1 year.
I would think if we plan it right to have it ready to go when the ground freezes. I mean, if we get a bunch of snow, we got equipment, go out there, and move it, and let that ground freeze. To let the truck get in there, the lift to get in there.
Then you can't put it on trailer, huh?
What's that?
trailer, the sign, take it out there and then bring it back in.
The current sign we have is unlicensed because we talked about this. It's
Grandfather.
It's
grandfathered in.
But
If we put lights on it, if we change the size, then we
It
gotta get
is.
it permitted.
If we put any lights on it,
If you put lights on it, you gotta get it permitted. It's kind of
Any lights?
grandfathered in as is
even
unpermitted,
like solar lights,
any lighting. Size, like, and even substantial improvements, like, sounded like if you really had to change the structure a lot, then that kind of threw the threshold up to, you're supposed to get it permitted.
well, are we wedded to that location as opposed to something along like the intersection of 15 and 45? I mean, is there,
I'd have to do a lot more research on, what a new sign would be permitted, what the structure would cost to be putting a new structure up. The land that it's on right now is city property. So I don't think we'd be able to put it on DOT property. It would have to be on private property, whether it's ours or whether we lease from somebody else.
this was years ago, but I remember somebody doing some homework and saying that it was very difficult to. I don't even know if there were permits for billboards being offered. John, were they issuing new billboard permits? I
It was
thought that was,
very cost prohibitive
I can't remember.
and there was very limited locations that the DOT would allow.
Yeah, at the time, now that you said that, we were even considering putting something safety to pay for it, if the law enforcement wanted to put a click it or ticket, or only you could prevent forest fires or something. We were looking at alternate different methods to share the cost, because it was a rarity that we had one. It was like, keep it the way it is.
Yeah, we debated it like through probably 7 or 8 meetings. Months. And Kent did an extensive
Mhm.
amount of research, and the consensus came to let's hold on to this. We're lucky we have it. And that's why we spent, I think, over 40,000 or 50,000 to replace some wood.
I don't think it was even that much, but yeah, there was some money for some updates, structural updates.
So, and it was kind of like, we're lucky to keep it or have it where we do. And then we got to get permission to get to it every
Yes.
time we go to it.
We have to cross the Crystal Falls property
Right.
to get to the sign, which I have that permission.
Yep.
So. But I think April and I were kind of work on like an open for business, has an address thing. We'll come up with something. April will come up with something creative and we'll bring them back in future meetings and talk about it more.
I kind of brought this up a while ago about maybe getting outside of town off of 45, or 41 or something. Hey, advertise New London. If I see it, well, hey, no, I haven't been there in years. I should go check it out. Advertise the river or whatever. I don't know if you've ever looked into what it would cost to, rent a billboard more closer to the valley just to pull people this way.
there is one, like I want to say it's like in Oshkosh or something where they're advertising for Kimberly or Kakana or like the same concept that I remember thinking, wow, it's gonna catches my eye every
And I
time.
always wondered, because there's existing digital ones out there. What's the cost? You would think the cost would be cheaper if you're just on the display, sharing that cost with 20 other businesses. I can look into that and see what that cost would be. That's not a bad idea.
There's that big digital one on 15 there, like by Sportomotive
Yep.
at Harley Shop. There's a big digital one there that flashes through
Yep.
a variety of things.
And if there's anything that's going to be like where the bypass is coming through, the Hortonville area, if there's anything in that area that we could
Well, it's on
tap
15,
into. Yeah,
leading up into that. That's not a
Could
bad
you,
idea.
could you tap into like more timely advertisements as well. So like this type of year, you could advertise St. Patrick's Day.
I haven't looked into it, so I'd have to look to see what the lead time is, what's the contract you have to advertise for 2 months with that image. I have no clue. But I mean, with Highway 15 getting, if you can tap off of the one that's on near 15.
Yeah.
And at the tail end of the Highway 15 reconstruction project, start putting nuggets in people's head.
Yeah, that's my
Your
thought.
drive time to New London just was
It's,
reduced.
it's right, yeah, it's right there. I mean,
That's,
let's tap into that whole situation.
that's a really good idea.
But I do like the idea of having some kind of timely, hey, St. Patty's Parade is coming up. It's, the sturgeon are spawning, just whatever we've got going on here. Hit those key times.
St. Patrick's would probably be more of the Irish or the Shamrock Club doing that. And I would want to stay away from events that we would advertise because then
Right,
we'll
then
have
you're gonna
every
have the
group
car club
asking
going
us to advertise for
insane.
their event. But
Right,
sturgeon spawning,
that would be, yeah, I
that's,
mean, but even if we knew the information and had the information and circulated that to those organizations that, hey, this is what it costs if you're looking to
Mhm.
do a little
And we-
advertisement.
Yeah, and we could offer, I mean, let's say it's, I don't know, $2,000. If you want to advertise your event and it's approved by Economic Development will give you $500.
well,
You come up with the remainder, Car Club, Shamrock Club, whoever, but we, Economic Development, will help as well.
there's already the option for tourism to fund that type of scenario
Mhm.
already. So I mean,
Okay.
that's,
That's what tourism funds are used for, advertising.
I'll dig into what the scenarios and options are for the digital advertising. It's an
I can-
interesting idea.
I can look, let's see what that sign is for, and I'll get back to you, just so if we know where to go and go to look.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
I think it's Lamar, I
I
think, but
think too, but I don't know.
Good idea.
any other discussion on that? Updates and reports, business update, April?
Business update, just a few things for you. Thank you for the lead, John. We have a new business called Leaky Cauldron Dog Grooming. Our contact is Darcy Up. She has a small little dog grooming business just south of Anytime Fitness. Chad and I stopped during, I think it was last Friday. We were doing a bunch of tours and businesses. She wasn't in, but I contacted her through Facebook. I was able to connect with her. So please get out and support her if you're able to. Another new business called Sunflower Adventure at the Lily Pad. So some of you may have known Lisa, she did flowers at Lily Pad. She left the business due to an allergy. Julie Laughlin is now moved her travel business into Lily Pad. So she'll be doing flowers, tanning, and travel over at Lily Pad. So that is a new business. And then the third new business is not open yet. She's not sure on the name, but I asked her permission if I could share this. Lori Berg owns Modern Flooring on the south end of town, and she has that small little building right in front of Modern Flooring. Boss Optimal Solutions was there for a year, but she is going to open up a 24-hour tanning salon, and she is looking at naming it the Tiki Tan.
Where's she looking to put that?
So there's a little small business. It's N3762 County Road T. It's a little small,
Is it formerly the glass shop?
it was Larson
Insurance,
Insurance and then it was
Oh,
Boss
oh,
Optimal.
oh,
So a little
okay,
tiny
yep.
like hut.
cute little building.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
so she'll do like a
yep.
key fob kind of thing to
Was it?
replace what we had with Touch and Tan. So.
Thank goodness.
Mhm. So, I mean, and we have tanning options available, obviously at Lily Pad that I just mentioned, River Edge, Anytime Fitness, New London Total Fitness, but this will be the 24-hour option. Right down the road a little bit.
The other way. Oh, there.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Mhm. Mhm. So look forward to that opening soon. And then I want to report that the Bridge Thrift Shop is currently located over on Shawano Street, 1931 North Shawano Street. They are moving. They're doing a moving sale right now because they're moving to a smaller location. They'll be taking over the vacancy on North Water Street, 219. That's where Crafty Crack was. So they'll be moving over there. So get down to the thrift shop. They're doing a $5 bag sale right now. They'll be moving in the coming weeks. I know you read in Chad's report, we've been out doing tons of business visits and tours. Please spread the word if somebody wants a visit. We would love to go see them. They do not need to be a chamber member in order for me to go and see them. And then I printed a couple things for you that I wanted to touch on. The first is an infographic that I did for the revitalization subcommittee. It is a list of our 2022 improvements. So it talks about the new businesses, the vacancies filled. It's important to note that 438 businesses is any business that has a New London address. That's why we have a tourism logo at the bottom. So under the chamber umbrella, there is tourism and the chamber, and we host and maintain two websites, our chamber website and our tourism website. And every business, whether you're a home business, you're in city limits, outside of city limits, is listed on that website. So it's 438 businesses total. So we talked a little bit about the Main Street Bounce Back Grant, $180,000 invested into our business community. Wolf River Art League hit 70 murals last year, and then we're at 93% vacancies filled. The second portion is a little bit about the future of New London with the reconstruction grant and then the TID districts and what that projection is going to look like. And then also including the 78 new parking stalls downtown. I also created this little leave behind here. And if anybody wants prints of these for your office or for your business, please let me know. We want to get this little QR code to everyone in New London. On this committee, we have someone who is married to a police officer. She said, my husband knows New London like the back of my hand, but he would never know that we had 21 new businesses come in last year. How do we get this information out to him? So that's where the idea of creating this infographic came. So we'll be getting this QR code out to the public. Once you scan this QR code, it takes you right to this infographic. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the New London Tourism book. I have plenty of copies here. I wanted to share that we work with Press Star, and they help us write this book. And we print 7,500 of these, and they're distributed throughout New London and businesses and new residents, but they're also shipped throughout the state. So we have a list of other chambers. We're getting them in the Valley. We're getting them to Oshkosh. So Tim, you had mentioned how are we advertising and how are we pulling in people into New London? We are definitely making sure that we are getting this book into people's hands. And if you look through this, I mean, you look through, there's an attraction page, and have you ever really looked at what we actually have in New London, what we actually offer? I mean, there's some really cool things that we offer in New London. So I encourage you to take a look at this, share this with your business community. And if you're able to house any of these, please let me know. I'd be happy to give you some. Thank you.
All right, thanks, April. Next, city administrator report.
To back on April's report, like she said, we've been doing some meet and greets. One of the recent ones we did was with the new Walker Family Veterinary Hospital. That's on the north side of town. They started around Christmas, business is picking up. They sell pet food. They have a pharmacy, do lab work in the office, or they can send that lab work out. And then it was really cool because they really stressed about partnering with local businesses. So they're selling some local products there. They did some remodels, and they wanted to make sure they worked with local businesses to do that. And I can't remember her name, but she made the comment that people in New London are really nice.
Natalie, yeah, or Wendy, his wife. Yeah, she
She's
said,
like, I went to the festival and everybody smiled and was like,
people are so nice here compared to where we came from. And they say they get at least 3 thank yous a day. Thank you for coming to New London. And they made it clear they're here to stay and do business in New London.
Yep. So that was really heartwarming and really cool meet and greet that day. I also have some information. NAI Pfeifferly publishes some quarterly market reports, some interesting things about an industrial, office, and retail type. I have the link in your packet that you can click on for going to all 3 reports. But some of the interesting things they have in there are just, and I put a snapshot of the occupancy and rental rates for the for retail sector. And you can kind of see, and this is for Appleton, Green Bay, Wausau, Stevens Point, the whole region. These are just averages, but you can I just kind of found it interesting to see these average rental rates anywhere from $10, how many years ago, the rental rates are obviously going up, but this is per square foot rental rates for a retail type business. So you can kind of see everything in those market reports. And I also want to kind of identify that the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation has a new service called Size Up Wisconsin. I put the a flyer in your packet of the program. It's basically, they're touting it as data intelligence information that usually only big businesses can grab. So you can go there, you can put your business information in there. You can find out where your competition is for that type of industry. Say it's coffee shop, you can put it in there. You can figure out and put your information of what your yearly sales are, and then kind of get a snapshot of what your sales are compared to your competitors in the region. I'm not saying I'm an expert in using this. I've been kind of dabbling around with it a little bit, but they're saying that this is free for small and medium-sized businesses in Wisconsin to try to just get some more market data and some more intelligent data of where they line up with other businesses, like businesses in the region or in the state. So I just want to kind of bring that to your attention. Otherwise, I think that's all I have in my report. Yep, that's it.
All right, thanks, Chad. Next would be review potential agenda items for future meetings.
I don't have anything on the docket. If anybody's got anything, just bring it up, and it seems like every month, just something pops up that we can bring some more information.
All right, we'll move on to any public. Oh, sorry about that.
It's not on the agenda, but what's the status with SC Swiderski?
Yep, we've been ramping up quite a bit, communications, the developers agreement. So that's been in negotiations. I've been emailing with Courtney from SCS Swiderski, and I'm working with our attorney on that. I anticipate in the next couple of weeks, we should have the developers agreement firmed up, that I intend to bring the developers agreement to finance and personnel at the April 5th finance and personnel meeting for the city's consideration on that. And that would potentially go to council on the 18th. In correlation with that, we just had the bid opening today for what it would cost to do the utility relocate. So now we have that number, and I'm hoping that is also a number, and the contract for that would also come to the April meeting. So hopefully everything lines up that we're bringing a lot of stuff to the April meetings for finance personnel, Board of Public Works, and the council for consideration for the project.
All right, now we'll move on to any public comment. Seeing nothing, we can move on. Want to review the next meeting date, Chad?
Next meeting date, regular date would be Tuesday, March 28th, 5:15.
Any problems with that? Okay, next I'd look for a motion for adjournment. So moved. Second. Motion made by Mr. Fisher, seconded by Hans. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?